So welcome everybody. This is a talk on dating apps, love them or leave them. And I'm excited to share what I've learned because I have given myself a month off of the dating apps. And I was sort of really interested in tracking what I do. I'm a sex, love, and relationship coach. I'm also an Iyengar yoga instructor. And so I really wanted to see like what happened to me, like how was I maybe addicted to the apps or how was I responding to the apps? How were they shaping my worldview? So this meeting is being recorded. And if you have anything that you want to share in the chat, I'm not going to share the chat publicly, so you can ask anything in the chat. I had my heart broken in 2019 unexpectedly, and I was very distressed. It was someone I thought I would spend the rest of my life with, and it didn't work out. So I gave myself a year. So March 2019, heartbreak. So I gave myself a year to sort of be invisible, to mope, to like reconfigure myself because something hadn't worked out that I really wanted to work out. And then March 2020, March 13th, 2020 to be exact, was the day was like, okay, it's been exactly a year since my heartbreak. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to date people, and I'm going to do this again. And of course, it's a cosmic joke because where I was living, that was the beginning of serious lockdown of the pandemic. When I started my dating app adventure in 2020, it started very slowly, obviously, because I couldn't really meet anyone in person. I was living in France where it was actually illegal to meet anyone. The police were out. You had to have papers. So when I started, I gave myself the assignment of meeting 10 men because I knew I would get disheartened. I knew that I would like lose my interest in this whole dating process. I knew that the heartbreak was still fresh in my body. I was still sad and doubting myself. So I was like, I'm going to meet 10 men. I'm going to get stronger at this. I'm really going to do this. And now it's 2023. And as of 2022, I had met 39 men in person using mostly dating apps, sometimes also meeting people in different ways. But it was hard during the pandemic. I'm a sex, love, and relationship coach, and I focus primarily on conscious dating, like how to be out in the world single and dating and not lose yourself and not become a person who is despairing. So this is a little class for people who dread dating, who are worried about the online dating situation, who are curious about the apps, who've been annoyed, who resent maybe the algorithms that are in charge of our love lives now. So if online dating has made you feel bad, and you wish things could just fall in place, I'm going to explore here a little bit about why that might be happening. And I'm going to bring up 5 things that I've noticed in my online dating journey and also with my clients that might help you have a different perspective on this tool that we seem to be stuck with in this day and age. So today's topic is about dating apps, my experience with them and my research on them, but I'm not going to give you a checklist of how to use the dating apps. It's not like this is not a pragmatic, this is more of a metaphysical approach to what the dating apps do to our nervous systems. Hi, Jan. This is recorded, but you can speak up if you want to at any time. I'm not going to recommend any particular app. I've noticed that depending on where you live geographically, depending on your age and your interests, different apps have different reasons for being. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about how to get off the apps and do something else. I'm going to give a talk on that next month. This time is really for like, what are the dating apps doing to us? Oh, I bet you have thoughts, Jan. I am going to share how the dating apps affect people. And I'm also going to share some strategies for taking care of yourself. If you are in a situation where you live or what you're desiring and you feel like you have to be on the apps, I want to help you navigate that in a way that you feel okay. I'd be happy to take questions and I'll stop the recording at the end of the talk. Or if you want to talk during the recording, that's perfectly fine. If you have things to say or if you want to put things in the chat. I'm going to be pretty critical of the apps. They are capitalist tools primarily created by young men in Silicon Valley who have an agenda, and their agenda is not my heart. Their agenda is to make money. It is a capitalist tool that uses technology to find a pain point in people and make money. So yes, I'm going to be critical of the apps, but also they're a tool. They're a tool, and we're kind of stuck with the tool. And we also, they could potentially open up massive worlds of connections in ways that we wouldn't have without the apps, especially if you're thinking like in geographically different or totally different social circles. The apps are like this portal to a whole world of people. So it's a little bit push me, pull you back and forth. So to start, let's just touch in with how your body feels when I say dating apps. Like, right? Tightness in the throat, tension in the shoulders, headache, repulsion, resistance, right? Just take a moment and breathe. Getting on the apps, using the dating apps. And notice what comes up in your body. Like, we have physical reactions to something that only exists on the screen. And we can make friends with that. Like, we can use that too as a tool, noticing how we respond. Oh, yes. And yet we don't give up, because it's in connection that we learn and we thrive. We need to support each other. We want to grow. We want to find love. It was funny. Last night I was talking to a group, and everyone was, I'm talking to a group of straight people. So cisgender men and cisgender women, and the cisgender women are really angry. And the cisgender men are really afraid of getting a bulldozer full of that anger, of doing the wrong thing, of not being an advanced and sophisticated man, of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they're still dating, right? Like, we don't give up as humans. It's so hard out there, and we still want that connection. We desperately want that connection. It's hardwired into us. Like, we are not the individualists that capitalism might think we are. We are actually beings that co-regulate. You know, there's so many studies done, like our heart rate, our menstrual cycles, even our hot flashes are affected by the people, the bodies around us. Like, we thrive in connection to other bodies. So we still want love. We still want to meet people, and yet things aren't ideal. So I can't cover everything in this hour together. It's a complex story. There are lots of different apps. There's lots of different needs. You may want to be hooking up with someone, and there are apps for that. You may want to have a friendship that lasts a long time, right? There are all sorts of different things, but I want to just give you some ideas of how to negotiate your relationship with the apps in a way that works for you. So thank you so much for coming. It's hard as adults to learn new things, and yet this is something that we need to learn because no one taught us, right? None of my guidance from my aunts or my grandmother or my mother was like, oh, this is how you approach a dating app. This will help you do this. This is what I did. They were like, no, they have, I recently had a client, and they said, oh, my grandmother was like, you'll just meet the right person. It's like, yeah, no, it's really hard to just meet the right person if you're working a lot, if you're commuting a lot, if you're in, certain bubbles that take up all of your time. All right. So just listen with an open mind, be present, take what works for you, ask me questions if you'd like. And I promise that this can actually be useful to you thinking about the apps. So I have now met 39 men in person, and almost all of them through dating apps. I have had some sweet relationships. I've made some friends. I've been hurt. I've been confused. I've learned new things. I met men who taught me how to ride a motorcycle. I have my motorcycle license now, thanks to Tinder. I learned how to swear in Puerto Rican Spanish. I learned how to shoot a bow and arrow, thanks to Tinder. I learned how bioenergetics works. Just going to mute you there. So there we go. And I haven't found my true partner, but I've learned a lot, and I'm not going to give up on the apps. I've gone on countless first dates and I enjoy them. I really like meeting new people. All right. Is there anything that anyone wants to get off their chest before I dive into my 5 big points? Anything that you want to share? Okay. So number one is I just took the whole month of January off of the dating apps. I had been on them literally for almost 3 years. No, almost 3 years, right? On them, off them, in relationship, out of relationship. And the first thing that I noticed in my month, like cold turkey, no dating apps at all, is I got really good at sleeping. It was amazing. Like I have been sleeping 10 hours a night, having incredible dreams. I'm a champion of sleep when I got off the dating apps. And you might think like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But for me, my nervous system health, I know whether or not it's doing well based on my sleep. For you, it might be your digestion. It might be your migraines. It might be other autoimmune, eczema or psoriasis or things that flare up when you're not doing well. So sleep for me is the canary in the coal mine. On Sunday, I briefly got back on the apps with a friend to get some advice. I was showing him Tinder and Bumble and what swiping and so on. And literally that night, I could not sleep. I was up for hours. It wasn't that I was like literally thinking about the apps or thinking about dates or photos, but my nervous system was jangled. You know that feeling when you're like there's electricity going through your body and you can't sleep and you're uncomfortable. And for you, it might be something different. It might be like a creeping sense of despair, like, oh, hello, old friend of my dysregulation, right? Like thing that shows me that my nervous system is not doing well. If you have like a creative problem or a work problem and you put it in the back of your mind and you let the gears turn, like, that your mind is like kind of chewing on it, digesting it, your dreams, your subconscious, and you wake up one day and there it is, problem sorted. Like a friend of mine was writing a song, right? He's been thinking about this song, He woke up and the song was written, like he wrote it down. He was so excited. So I think that there's something similar when we're looking at the apps. We're lonely. We're wanting love. And then we look at the apps and I see pictures of people who also want love. And the problem-solving mechanism of my nervous system begins to grind, begins to work, right? You want love, here's people who want love. You want love, here's people who want love. But in the virtual realm, if I'm just sitting at home swiping, the problem is never solved, right? My nervous system never stops chewing and grinding because I'm still sleeping alone with my phone and Tinder, right? So our brains and our hearts kind of go on overload and the nervous system takes the toll. What should we do? So a couple of things. I always advise clients not to look at apps at night, late at night, not to look at apps when you're feeling blue, especially don't get into texting when you're feeling down or looking or getting ready for bed, or it's late at night, or you're insomniac, right? If that's the thing. So instead, what we need to do, in my opinion, is give our nervous system something to do that it can actually do, that it can actually solve, right? Because you may find yourself being someone you don't want to be when you're on the apps too much because your nervous system is in its not flowing state because it wants to help you, right? Our nervous systems exist to help us live efficiently and solve problems, right? And they're connected to our endocrine systems. And so your nervous system is like, you're lonely. There's a thing. You're lonely. There's a thing. But it's not actually ever a thing until you meet the person and, things progress. So I would suggest that when you get on the apps, you really consciously track your own nervous system. How do you do this? Notice your breath, right? Like even right now, you can just like think of looking at an app and notice the sensations in your body. Notice if you're getting hot or cold or going numb, right? Notice your mindset. And I'm just going to give you a tiny exercise to show you what I mean. So this comes from Feldenkrais. So just where you're sitting, notice your 2 feet and see if one is heavier than the other. Just noticing 1 foot, right foot, left foot. Is one heavier than the other? And breathe. And then go up to your pelvis, your sitting bones, your hips. And notice like, oh, one is probably tipped, right? You might be on one side more than the other. And just breathe like, ah, right, heavy, left light. Now go back to your feet. And often, without us even noticing, our feet will have evened out. Like you gave your nervous system a problem and it solved it, right? Notice your feet again, the weight in the 2 feet. At least for me, just bringing my attention to that gave my body something to do that it knows how to do. My feet feel even. It's crazy. Come back to your pelvis. How are those 2 bones, sitting bones, landing, right? So what I would suggest is that you build, if you're going to be on the apps, you build into your life things that give your nervous system satisfaction. It could be meditation. It could be swimming in cold water, you know yourselves, so that it doesn't spin out of control trying to solve the problem of your heart, which it can't solve, but which the visual of the screen leads it to believe it can solve, right? So you don't get into this like impossible looping. So I'm back on the apps and I've been looking at them and I've been sleeping great because I look at them in the morning, I look at them for a limited amount of time. And as soon as that feeling comes up, like I put it down, I put it down. So it's, self-regulating your nervous system, doing what you need to do, whether it be going on a run or even something as simple as like a handstand or a downward dog, just to give your body like, yes, I here's a problem to solve. I can solve the problem. All right. Number 2, scarcity mindset. Despite what the dating apps say, their goal is to keep you on, to keep you swiping and to keep you subscribing and to keep you buying various options. They are there to make money, and that is the reality. And the way they make money is by getting your attention. You might have noticed that when you take a break from the apps and then get back on them, all of a sudden you see fantastic options, right? So I was gone for a month. I turned Bumble back on. I was like, wow, look at these amazing, beautiful people. It's because I was gone and they want me to come back, right? The next day I get on and it's like, nope, 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 nope. And I keep swiping because I want those beautiful people back that the first day I saw. Where did all the potential matches go? You might find yourselves like feeling desperation and looking harder, and that's what they want. Like they want you to feel scarcity. Capitalism thrives on us not believing that we have everything we need, right? And I am not like, I don't have science to this, but I've read a lot and I've sat down with friends and we have compared who we are seeing online. It is controlled and concocted to keep you hooked. It's like the slot machines at Vegas, right? It'll show you 3 cherries and you're just going to keep going till you get those 5 cherries. Even if 2 hours go by and you haven't seen 1 cherry, your brain saw something and it wants it back. And it's so easy for us to embrace the scarcity narrative, that impossibility, like to go from the algorithm isn't showing me any good pictures to, oh, I suck. I'm too old. I'm too difficult. I'm too demanding. There are no good people out there. It's never going to work. Capitalism thrives on the scarcity mindset. You can't get what you want, but it seems like you should be able to, that other people are getting what they want and you are pulled in. So you can use the dating apps and watch your brain spin stories, but it's really important to remember that this is not reality. This is an app, and apps are designed to get your attention. They want you to stay hungry. They want you to be a little bit desperate, and they want your attention. I live in a town of 25,000 people. right? So out of those 25,000 people, I don't know how many people are my age. I have sat down with a friend. She's the same age as I am. She has even the same hair color as I do. She's the same demographic. And we have looked at Tinder together, and we are not seeing the same people at all. And we should be, because there are about 10 for me and about 10 for her, right? We should be, but we aren't, because it's dependent on our swiping patterns rather than on who we are. Go ahead, Jan. What do you want to say?
That is just like, I think I'm very ignorant and naive about the apps, because what you said, it's like, I know two really great men who are also on Tinder. They're both exes of mine. One is I'm still dear friends with. One is my most recent ex who I had the heartbreak with. I don't know if he's still on it, but when we spoke, he had been on it. Neither of them have come up for me. And I'm like,
Right, and they're people you
when am I
like.
going to see these guys? These are like the people. These are my people, these men. And neither of them have come up for me. And then like the disparity where it feels like the app will throw me just like, oh my God, this guy, like he's perfect for me. Like in every which way, like just like, and then I don't think that was even a real person.
Okay, so there is actually a lawsuit against Match because they did make fake profiles with bots to keep
This
people
one felt almost
going.
like, it almost felt
Too
too good
perfect.
to be true.
Yes.
This beautiful, gorgeous man, like
Yes.
creative, Black man, arty, just like someone must have just said, this is the man for Jan, and showed up in my Tinder.
Because think
And
of all the information they have on you. They
right.
know how fast you swipe,
Oh yeah.
which even when you swipe no, which one you like stayed on longer. They know you so well, they could concoct the perfect, alluring person, but they don't actually want you to find that person and get off the app.
Right. Because after that like high point, then it's all these like low vibe, just low energy, just kind of withered, just faded men who are absolutely not. I'm just like swipe, swipe. I literally do. That's how I go. That's the speed I go.
Yeah, the one that I get is like there's nothing in my profile about dogs. I don't have a dog. I don't love dogs. And I will get 20 in a row pictures of men kissing their dogs on the mouth. Those aren't my people.
Right.
Dog kisser. I mean, dogs are fine, but we're not a match at all. But
Yeah,
because
I
I get
haven't
into
been
that
thinking about
scarcity
it long.
mindset, I'm going to keep going.
Right. Like I'm
And
gonna
even
find
maybe
it. It's gonna
lower
be
my
here.
standards and be like, okay, I guess I have to go out with a man who kisses his dog on the mouth because that's what there is. That's not real. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't really thought about this part of it. I'm just like, yeah, just everyone's in the pool. And I'm just like, everyone's in the pool. But what you're saying is like just so disheartening.
Well, but knowledge is power. When you know this, you can do things, right? You can work with it. So what is my solution for this? I give myself 10 no's a day. That's it. Once I swipe left 10 times, I'm off for the day because I can live with the reality that there are 10 men I don't like. That's fine. There are 10 guys out there that are not a match for me. When I hit 50 guys that are not a match for me, I want to lay down on the floor and bawl, right? Like spiral into doomsday thinking. I will obsess and I will start blaming myself. I'll blame my mother, like, right?
Yeah, I do that, the counting to 10 too. I'll do it like, okay, I'm just going to do 10.
Yeah.
And then I'll do 10 more. And I probably do it 50,
No, Jan. Because
50
then
or
at some
60.
point, yeah, at some point your brain will be like, okay, Jan, you're screwed. There's no one out there for you. It's terrible. And then what are you going to do? You're going to swipe more because you don't want that to be true. And then they've got you. Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know where they find these thousands of not matches, right? And then I think on the flip side, how disheartening it is for all the other people out there, right? Someone wants to meet me and they're seeing, I don't know what they're seeing, women kissing their cats on the mouth or whatever, like, over and over and over again. Yeah. Yeah. So step away when you feel that narrative rising, just like put it down, turn it off, step away. And I kind of like get into like, well, app, you're not going to best me. You might have algorithms and data, but I'm a human being and I know myself, sort of a yeah.
Yeah.
How's that feeling, Jan?
Yeah, I think just to limit it,
Yeah.
to a certain time each day and to
Yeah.
10 no's. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, to have some boundaries around it, because I'll find myself like stuck in my car and then I'm just like swiping and kind of throughout the day. And I've actually paused Tinder because
Yeah.
I was just like, ugh,
Yeah.
I'm exploring reconnecting with my ex. That's happening. So I've been involved with him and
This is being recorded, so you may not want to give all the details.
no, I'm not. But just
Okay.
that's happening and energy is going towards that. And I'm kind of like, I'm just gonna just pause this other thing.
Yeah.
I went on a few dates. I did go on a few dates
Good for
and
you.
that was instructive, but
Your
it
story
feels really
is
nice to pause it.
your story is so perfect for my next point, Jan.
Okay.
Reconnecting with your ex. This is perfect. Perfect. Um, so my third point is that the apps are all about no, 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 no. But if in real life, so we end up rejecting all sorts of possibilities and possible people, and we also end up feeling rejected. The apps lead us into thinking there's a world of no, and there's a world of yes. But the funny thing is, in the real world, many, many strong, loving relationships that I know of started with a no, started with a breakup, right? Started with a I'm not single. I was recently on retreat and I quizzed 5 couples about how they had met. And they'd all met later in life, like in their mid 30s or 40s, later, not in their 20s. And every single one of their stories started with a no or an obstacle. One of them wasn't interested in that way. One of them lived, on the other side of the world. One of them wasn't single at the time. One of them didn't seem interested. And then after months and months of getting to know each other, of ups and downs, of life happening, in the gentlest of ways, like they had a commute together, or they had work meetings, or they liked the same band, like not like fireworks, right? Their love grew and blossomed, and it transitioned into a real commitment, right? Well, we know so many of these stories, but the apps make us think that no is the end, right?
Mhm.
And the apps say that the only way to find love is that it's going to start with a yes. But all of the couples I know who are really strong, when they met, there was not all yes. I mean, my friends who've been married the longest, who I introduced, he wasn't single when they met. She had to wait a while, right? 6 months
Mhm.
later. Oh, now I'm single. Let's talk about this, right? Ah, I mean, this is a fairy tale. And if you think back on your life, some of the best things in your life might have started as not even just love relationships, right?
Mhm.
When I
Mhm.
started coaching, I was like, life coach? That's ridiculous. Who would ever do that? I'm not that kind of person. But then I kept doing it and kept learning. And I was like, now I love my work, but it did not start out as a yes. It started out as a
Right.
"Hmm." So
Yeah.
your story's perfect for that, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's a no, maybe the no's a yes, maybe the no's a no, but it's not so cut and dry. Like you're all the no's and you're all the yeses.
Right. Right. Yeah, there's so much of a dance in the space in between, which, as you know, I've been involved with this man who's, as he is in transition, I'm in transition, and
Yeah,
it's not, sometimes it really feels like a yes. We're like, yes, and then there's circumstances. It's like, oh no.
exactly.
It's
Exactly.
and it's still a moving thing. It's still moving.
Exactly. Yeah. And even the people I know who met their current partner on an app, they did not have full on yeses the first time they met. Not at all. Like they
Mhm,
met on the
mhm.
app and then like 2 years later they got together, or they, met on the app for a hookup and they're like, oh, and then it had turned into something else with time and it evolved. What I would say is on the apps, just notice your, I mean, you've done the same work as I have, but notice your kinky pleasure in the nose. Like how much do you like the nose? Like, right? Um, because it gives you the chance. If you're always like, no, 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 you're like, the world is binary and I'm on the right side of history and everything else is bad. But what I would suggest instead is to actually pause before the no. Not that you're going to turn it into a yes, but like slow down and lean into like, okay, why am I, a no, instead of the temptation that the apps give us that we know all the no's and the no's are no's, right? Um, I mean, I don't know if you read this book, Finding Love After 50, but there's a story in there of two people who met who were a Republican and a Democrat, but they met through a way where they got to show up as their best selves, and that was that was okay. But on a dating app, like you're in the no category, right?
Right. Yeah, well, I know even with this ex, it wasn't a yes when I first met him.
Thank
Even the
you,
first
Jan.
meeting, I remember he brought like a little flower to our first date, and I brought it home, and I was just like, tossed it. It was like, that's not, it's not. And then it didn't turn out to be a no.
Exactly. Exactly. But the dating apps, like they suck us into this like, no, 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 yes, yes, yes.
Mhm,
And it's not that
mhm.
simple. Yeah. All right. Number 4 of my 5 points is what I noticed. Maybe you've been outsourcing your erotic energy. I don't know what's been going on with you, but the first thing that I noticed when I went cold turkey after years on the apps, and some of that time I was on the apps was during a pandemic, so it was easy to think there was no other way to meet anybody. Like, literally I was in lockdown, but that wasn't forever. The first thing that I noticed when I stopped using the apps is that I had put all my flirty, sexy, lovey, hopeful energy into the app. It's like if I hired a housekeeper and I stopped doing everything. Like I didn't, pick up my socks or anything because now I have a housekeeper. It was kind of like that. Like I outsourced it. I stopped smiling at people in the grocery store. I didn't engage new people in conversation. I kind of was like, the app's going to do all that for me. I stopped doing the
Mm,
work of connection. And I hadn't even realized how cut off I was from my sexy connecting energy in my daily life. I mean, I dance tango, I do contact improv, like I hang out with other bodies. And I was just like, there, like, I like tango. And if I want to find someone, they'll be on the apps, right?
mm.
I kind of siloed myself. And so if the apps can seduce us into believing we don't have to do the work of flirting, of being vulnerable, of asking people out, of telling the world that you're single and that you'd like to meet someone, of being able to be rejected like in person, right? So if I ask someone out for coffee face to face and they say no, like I don't know how to do that anymore because I'm used to the tool, right?
Right.
Um, and the pandemic obviously has put us all a little bit out of practice with how to connect with people, how to talk to people. But my question would be like, if you're not having a good time on the apps, like how's your flirting game? How's your ask people out muscle? Like you can still use the apps, but the thing that is for me really promising is if you work on being vulnerable, being able to be rejected face to face, making eye contact with people, like connecting with people, all of those skills are things that will serve you in your friendships and your relationships. If you work at getting really good at like reading dating profiles, I don't know if that's a skill that's ever going to help you thrive in relationship and connection. Does that make sense? Like
Mhm.
it's not going anywhere. It's kind of useless. It's like giving kids a bunch of worksheets for homework because they're going to grow up and do worksheets. No, they're not.
Right.
So doing the actual like harder stuff of like connecting with people and being comfortable in the gray areas, like you were saying, is the work that will make it possible for you to be comfortable in the gray areas in an intimate friendship or connection. Like it
Right.
actually goes somewhere.
Well, it seems like, it's like with so many things in life, it's recognizing where the app fits in a balanced way of being in the world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, no, I don't think I sacrifice all of that for the apps, I personally don't think I have a very strong flirting game, and I don't know, LA seems to be a difficult place to
A lot of
connect.
cars.
Yeah, well, there's the whole car thing, but I can't think of a time, any time recently where I've seen someone that I want to like have encountered someone that I want to go and, ask out on a date. I mean, I'm not involved in a lot of like, I'm not involved in a dance community right now. I was
Oh,
for
okay.
years.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't go to a yoga studio.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm not out in the world in that way. I'm out and about with my work, my my
Mhm.
day job.
Yeah.
So there's not that much opportunity
Yeah.
to
Well,
do that.
when I got off the apps, I noticed that I actually started filling up my life with because I had no way to meet people online. I started going
Mhm,
to a lot more activities, contact improv,
mhm,
tango, yoga. And the other thing is I started meeting a lot more people when I got off the
mm,
apps. I didn't meet
mhm.
like the one, but I have all these new friends in the month of January 2023. I have made like tons of new friends because I got off the apps and like kind of pushed myself back into the world, right?
Right.
And there's a
Yeah,
whole world of people that I do want to hang out with. That is just the apps are so narrow. Like, see it,
right.
yeah.
One thing I think also with the apps and kind of having this reconnection with my ex is it's very easy for me to justify that I have this amazing thing with him. And it's almost like reinforcement, like, look at all these other losers. Look at all these other losers. He's the one.
Interesting. Is that serving you, Jan?
No, it's not. And
Okay.
I'm
Is that
admitting
useful?
it.
Yeah,
And I
interesting.
even
I hadn't
I
thought
met
about
a,
that. Yeah, that's
what's
interesting.
that?
I hadn't thought about that, but comparison is a big
Mhm.
piece. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
comparing to these other men in my life, particularly my ex who I'm still very much in love with. And I even met a guy on there on Tinder who just I was very excited to meet him. He seemed to check all the boxes and I was really excited to meet him. And then when I did, the energy just was felt flat.
Yeah, so there's a way in which it can be a complicated, like I have been thinking about that too, and I haven't been able to articulate it as well, but like how the virtual compares with the real and how our brains and bodies navigate that because
Yeah,
the virtual, so much of what we're dealing with is our own imagination. And then
right.
obviously we're going to be disappointed because our own imagination is way better than reality. And then in the real, like it's I'm working on that, especially because I do so much work on Zoom and then I meet the people in real life and it's like they're it's like an yeah, it's like living in two worlds.
Yeah. I mean, I had really built up that this guy was like he was great. He was a cyclist. He was into art and music and asked really great probing questions and was very interesting. And it wasn't like, how's your day? He was really asking me such interesting questions. And then I found in the date with him, we had like a 3-hour phone call one night talking about all kinds of stuff. And I found that I was just getting depleted being around him. I was like, he was draining me. And
I hear that
and
a lot from people. Yeah.
yeah, really.
Yeah, because the imaginary connection is one-sided and the real connection is two-sided. And it's actually a
Mhm.
lot of co-regulation and negotiation and compromise and all these things when another unknown human being is with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if you are on your dating journey and you need help, go to my website, kimberlyhealey.com, book a free session, and we can talk about this. I would be happy to support you in your journey through the apps and thinking about how you want to date and taking action steps towards actually having a positive relationship with yourself and with the app so that this is a useful tool for you. I can really help you navigate them and also navigate yourself in your journey. So that's important. All right, last piece, number 5. I always like to have 5 topics in my talks. The apps are a tool. They collect data on you. They observe your habits. They lead you into more swiping, but they also are a tool to explore the world. You can see a lot of people who aren't in your regular social circles. You can find people who are interested in some obscure thing that you didn't know anyone else was interested in. And it's kind of amazing what we have at our fingertips. So there are ways that you can use the apps to figure out your own dating journey, to strengthen your empathy and to learn to ask for what you want, to practice good communication. And all of those, you could see it as like all of those strangers out there who are also participating in this project of online dating are there to help you grow and discover too, in whatever way, right? Like if we could sort of think of it as like it's us against the apps, all of us lonely hearts, all of us daters, we need to help each other out and not blame each other or dismiss each other and see this as a tool for connection. Like when the internet began, I was so excited because it was going to open us up to the whole world. But what happens often in our lives on the internet is we just go down a track that reaffirms whatever it is we're thinking, right? So the apps can really open up. So I would encourage people to look at people a little bit differently on the apps, like recognize their humanity, not slow down, take a breath, notice what's happening to your own nervous system. And sometimes you might want to take a break from the apps, right? Like you take a break from sugar or you take a break from screens just to sort of reset and reconnect with yourself. Stepping away helped me realize some important things about how I lean on the apps to do the work of connecting, how I lean on the apps to feel badly about myself, how great my life is actually without the apps when I forget about them. And humans are amazing. We've developed so many tools and for good reasons and bad reasons. And so I think that you can use the apps in a self-aware way and they can work for you. I mean, I don't regret any of the people that I've actually met through the apps, right? Like that, the end result is fascinating and enriching. So I just want to recap my 5 points. Number 1, track your nervous system. Notice what your nervous system is up to when you're on the apps and do something else in your life that makes your nervous system feel good. Number 2, notice scarcity mindset when it arises in the apps and step away from them. Because that's you being manipulated. That's a marketing strategy, right? That's an app strategy. That's not you. That's you being manipulated. Number 3, remember that no is the beginning of so many good stories. And watch out for the temptation to fall into total binary thinking that you're the yes and they're the no. You're the yes and they're like, no, wait, pause, think about that. Number 4, start taking action towards what you want and don't outsource everything to the apps. Practice connecting with people. Celebrate yourself, recruit some support. Even the smallest thing, like last night I went to the grocery store and I saw like 4 attractive men and I forced myself to make like, maybe I freaked them out, but like, I'm gonna actually look that guy in the eyes and smile, right? Like I'm so out of practice because I was used to the apps finding me potential dates, but I can find my own potential dates. It's possible. And then number 5, the apps are a tool, they're a human tool. And like so many things, they can be used to self-sabotage, but they can also be a tool to find really cool things, to have adventures, to stay centered and positive. So that's really important to remember. So KimberleyHealey.com, book a session if you'd like to talk about this. I'm here to support you in your dating journey. And I'm going to stop the recording here.